Hi. Today we're going to be looking at a piece of Ninja Turtle media which not many people know about. That being Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. And if you forgot about this show or were just unaware of it, it came out like roughly a year after the original cartoon aired, and by then not many people cared about the Turtles anymore, so it made sense if you missed it. And for those who saw it, most people tend to hate on this show. And frankly, I like it. Not because it's good, but because it's so goofy I can't help but laugh at it. And today, we're going to be looking at the first 5 episodes. Mostly because it's a 5-part storyline and it does kind of have a beginning, middle, and end. And with that, let's get to it. The first episode starts off somewhere in China, where we see a Chinese man staring into a mirror. A woman in a cloak comes in to ask if something's wrong with him. He tells her he's fine, and once she leaves, a mysterious face comes out of the mirror. The face does quickly return to the mirror, and the Chinese man fears that something horrible is coming to destroy everything. We then cut to New York City, where we actually get a pretty similar introduction to the Turtles, like in the first live-action movie, where the Turtles are only in shadow, and all we can do is hear them talking. We do eventually see one of them, that being Raphael riding a motorcycle, and yeah, his mouth is hanging open. He looks incredibly derpy. I have no idea why they couldn't have closed it for this scene. Not too long after, Raphael gets jumped by some foot soldiers and ends up picking a fight with them. And funny enough, some of the foot soldier costumes are reused from the first movie, however they made some new ones, and it's really funny how obvious it is. We do get a glimpse of the fight with Raph and the foot soldiers. However, we quickly cut away to Master Splinter playing chess with a blind man in the park at night. And he also gets a vision that Raphael is in trouble, and he ends up going to go help him. Okay, it's around here where I want to talk about the costumes. And frankly, I think they're okay. Like, given the time span they probably had to use them and the fact that this is a TV show budget, I think they came out okay. Granted, sometimes they look creepy and the lip movements don't always match, but given the detail, I think they're sort of a step up from Ninja Turtles 3. Hear me out. I only say this because with Ninja Turtles 3, it felt like they just made the same 4 costumes and just put a different mask on each of them. With this show, it kind of feels like they tried to make them all look unique. And for Splinter, I'm kind of mixed on him because with Ninja Turtles 3, everyone complained he looked kind of bad, but he at least looked like Splinter. Here, he looks different, but he's at least a guy in a costume, so he is able to interact with the Turtles more and have a couple fight sequences, as well as keeping the part where his ears cut off. So, it's not like there wasn't effort put into him. There clearly was. Anyways, let's get back to the show. We then go on to see the other 3 turtles still living in the train station, and I'm not gonna lie, for a TV show budget, they did a really good job recreating the set. It is also around here where Donatello shows he's hacked into a satellite dish just so we can track all of his brothers and Splinter in case any of them go missing or rogue. And they see that Raphael's light is blinking sporadically, showing that he's in a fight, and the one icon for Splinter is going after him, showing he's trying to go help. The rest of the Turtles decide to go help, and here we learn that the Turtles for some reason own a Hummer. How they got this and how this counts as a stealthy ninja vehicle, I will not know. We then see Raphael getting overpowered by the foot, but thankfully Splinter comes in to lend a hand and fends them off almost immediately. Splinter then goes on to belittle Raph just because he was riding in a really noisy vehicle, and he's got a point. They're supposed to be ninjas and quiet and stealthy, but instead Raph's riding in a really noisy motorcycle. And then the other turtles show up in their Hummer, making even more noises. Splinter goes on to tell them that they're all almost 18 years old, and is also worried that with age they might become more reckless, and he's trying to keep that from happening. And before he can give a lesson about it, he goes back to his chess game, and Mikey asks for pizza. And we also learn that Shredder survived the ending of Ninja Turtles 2. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the Shredder costume in this show is not great, but I wouldn't say it's horrible. It's passable at best. And it's this scene here where all he does is scold his minions for not being able to beat one turtle and a rat. We then go on to see Splinter meditating and putting his mind into the dream realm. And when he goes there, he meets up with the same Chinese guy we saw at the beginning of the episode, where he warns Splinter that the place is not safe and that he should leave. And before Splinter can get any more answers, Raphael interrupts, trying to apologize for his actions earlier. We then go back to China, where we see that the mirror that the old man is looking at is going out of control and that the threat that's behind it will probably reach our world any time now. We then see Mikey riding a skateboard jet ski thing while being followed by the Foot Clan. Splinter then goes back into the dream world trying to see what's happening, and he quickly sees that everything is all wrong there. And the Chinese man is having more and more struggles trying to keep whatever is on the other side of the mirror at bay. When Raphael gets home, the place gets attacked by foot soldiers, leading to a pretty interesting fight scene. I was waiting to talk about this because it's here where we see that the fights in this season are a bit more comical, and I think I know why. I mean, given how with the TV budget and not a major movie budget, they probably didn't want to put the costumes through too much stress in case they get damaged or break. Which is probably why this fight scenes, or at least all the fights in this show, are all more tame, if anything. After the fighting's over, they see that Splinter hasn't woken up from his meditation yet and start to fear the worst for him. And back in China, the Chinese man slowly passes away, but with his final breath, he tells his apprentice to go find Splinter in New York City. And it's here that we learn that his apprentice is actually a Ninja Turtle that's female, ending episode 1. Episode 2 starts off with the turtles trying to figure out what happened to Splinter, but right as they're doing so, they hear a noise and the lights go out. When the lights come back on, we see all the turtles are hanging from the ceiling, and the one woman in cloak comes in to look at Splinter. And later on, or at least almost immediately, she reveals herself to the turtles as the 5th Ninja Turtle. And of course, all the turtles are happy that there's another one of them, but mostly because she's female and, well, they thought they were the only ones of their kind, so now a female exists, and of course they're excited. Her name is Mutation, but the turtles give her the name Venus de Milo, and for the rest of the video, I will be referring to her as Venus just for consistency. Venus then goes on to say she was trained in shinobi and not ninjutsu, but when I looked it up, they're practically the same thing, and this show treats it as one being more spiritual than the other. She then goes on to tell them that her old master has been keeping a group of creatures known as the dragons trapped in the dream realm for all this time, and she suspects that they are the ones who are keeping Splinter captured there. Later on, Venus and Leo start talking on the top of a roof, and he tries to explain to her that all 5 of them aren't related by blood, seeing as though they're all Pet Shop turtles originally, mostly as a way to hit on her, and things quickly get awkward.
We should return to your home in the toilet.
You mean sewer?
What's the difference?
While back in the lair, Venus goes into the dream realm to try and find Splinter. She does find him captured by the Dragon Lord, who will be this season's new main villain, along with his lame sidekick Wick, who was clearly just a hand puppet. She does quickly get spotted by the Dragon Lord, causing her to leave, and she also leaves the lair in a huff because of how much the turtles have been hitting on her. And frankly, I'm surprised she didn't do it earlier. She does quickly get attacked by foot soldiers, and Raphael does try to come to her rescue, but he takes so long that she ends up fighting them all off by the time he arrives. She then goes on to use her shinobi powers on one of them to read his mind, just to figure out what they're up to, and she discovers that they're planning on attacking their base again later tonight, and decides to help the turtles fight the Shredder and take him out once and for all, and then will go on to help teach them how to dreamwalk to save Splinter. When the turtles go on to break into the Foot Clan's base, they do a pretty good job. However, while sneaking around, they break through the balcony of a railing and end up exposing themselves, leading to a big fight with the Foot. Venus then jumps in to use her shinobi powers on the Shredder, wiping him from his mind, but I don't know, like, she doesn't really know him, and I can see what she's trying to do, get rid of his evil hat and replace him with Oroku Saki. However, the problem is Oroku Saki was always kind of evil, so doing this would be pointless, and guess what? This is how Shredder is defeated in this show. 2 episodes in, and he's supposedly gone. I mean, granted, he did show up again as a homeless person in a later episode, but yeah, this is how they take out Shredder in this show. Leo then goes on to tell the Foot to disband seeing as how their leader is gone, and then the episode just abruptly ends with them jumping in the air. Episode 3 starts off with them training to go into the Dream Realm, but unfortunately, it ain't going too well because none of them can really focus too much on it. After some bickering, the turtles decide to go topside to do some training, mostly to clear their heads. And when we get to the roof, we learn two things. One, Mikey has Tongfa instead of nunchucks, mostly because of the whole they have to center his nunchucks from the first movie thing. And second, when the turtles are doing body training, their minds are able to be calm enough to the point where they can enter the dream world, and they finally make it there. After some exploring, the turtles do eventually find Splinter, as well as the person who captured him. I mean, granted, we did see him in the previous episode, but here we get a much better look at him. And we also learn that he has been torturing Splinter with his constant rambling.
I have been listening to this bagpipe for 3 days!
However, luckily for them, it didn't take too much effort to get free of the dream world and have Splinter back with them. When they get back to the lair, Splinter goes on to explain how he was aware of Venus for a really long time. However, the Chinese men recommended that her existence be kept secret until the time was right. And not too long after that explanation, they all accept her as a member of their family and let her live with them. Unfortunately, unbeknownst to the turtles and Splinter, we learn that the dragons have managed to make it to the human world, and not too long after getting there, they set up shop in an abandoned building and get ready for, well, as you can guess, evil schemes. As a way to celebrate their new member of the family, the turtles go out for a picnic in the park, but it's around here where they realize the dragons made it back to their world when they more or less attack them. Which then leads to a really, really goofy fight. And I mean really goofy.
Giddy up, dragon!
But unfortunately, their wacky fighting style wasn't enough to free Splinter from the Dragon Lord's capture again. And I don't know why, this looks a lot funnier than threatening. And thankfully, due to Venus's shinobi magic, they are able to free Splinter and make a quick getaway. Back at the lair, the turtles start moping about how they lost the fight against the dragons, and are even starting to question if they will even be able to face them again. And unfortunately, the turtles have every right to worry because we see the Dragon Lord talking with his minion Wick, discussing about getting the Serum of Invincibility ready for his minions, making his army stronger. And with this, episode 3 comes to a close. Episode 4 begins by showing off that the dragons have renovated the building that they have taken refuge in. And unfortunately, they have one Serum of Invincibility ready to go for one minion. However, one isn't enough for an army, so the Dragon Lord forces Wick to go find more ingredients to make more serum. Back at the lair, most of them are recuperating from their last encounter with the dragons, except for Donatello, who's reworking his satellite uplink from the first episode to find the dragons easier. It does work, and with this, Raphael wants to take the fight to them, but Leonardo argues that they're people who fight defensively, not offensively. Out of frustration, Raphael decides to go fight the dragons on his own despite what his family tells him. But right as Raphael gets there, Splinter changes his mind.
I have changed my mind.
Master, you can't do that.
Yes, I can. I am old. Teach the dragons the way of the ninja.
Yes. You said...
I said a ninja fights defensively. Go fight defensively.
So with this, the rest of the turtles speed off to Raph in their Hummer. We then see Raph try to fight off the dragons, but puts up an okay resistance at best, but since he's outnumbered, he gets taken out. The rest of the turtles do come to help, however, they don't fare much better either, leading to them having to retreat. With, what else? More slapstick comedy. But unfortunately, during their getaway, they get stopped by a stop sign. But thankfully, the Hummer does have weapons to hold them off long enough for Leonardo to look both ways before they leave. Back at the Dragon Lord's base, we see him giving one of his minions the Invincibility Serum and requests he uses it to get more ingredients for the rest of the army. Back at the lair, the rest of the turtles discuss with themselves and realize that they're mostly used to fighting humans, not dragon creatures from another realm. And not too long afterwards, Donatello discovered that they're all heading to the zoo, and the turtles decide maybe they should go to observe them and hopefully find a weakness they can exploit. And with that, they head out. While at the zoo, they don't really find anything until Venus uses her shinobi magic to tell them that they were hiding in the bushes. Almost immediately afterward, they get ambushed, leading to what else? Another wacky fight sequence! After some time in the fight, the one general takes the invincibility serum and actually gets a power boost, making him strong enough to face off against the turtles. Granted, it takes like not even a few minutes from the real. They just gotta knock the spider off his chest and he loses his power, causing him to retreat. Back at the lair, we see that Donatello is getting ready to open up the spider that had the invincibility serum. But before we can get an answer to that, we go back to the dragons, where we see the Dragon Lord getting angry at his general for getting no ingredients and losing the serum. However, he does confirm that it did work and made him strong enough to fight the turtles, but only briefly, practically confirming that making this stuff is not a waste of time. And with that, episode 4 comes to an end. In the last episode we're going to be talking about, it starts off with Leonardo having a dream about Turtle telling him to fight a new way. And what is the new way? Well, we'll learn at the end of the episode, unfortunately. We then cut to the Dragon Lord, who is angry at the fact that the turtles somehow keep figuring out where he and his minions are going to be. And for some reason, Wick points out they only have enough serums of invincibility for 5 more soldiers, which isn't really explained, seeing as how in the last episode they kept complaining how they only had enough for 1. But Dragon Lord gets the actually pretty smart idea to take advantage of this and set a trap for the turtles. Back at the lair, we see Donatello trying to examine the serum which they got in the last episode, and unfortunately can't make heads or tails of it. Venus and him get into an argument about how, she says not everything is science and some things can't be magic, and Donatello, says no to that theory, which ends up becoming a running theme throughout the entire show, with those two bickering about how to handle things through magic or science. Kind of interesting when you think about it. Later in the day, Leonardo has his dream again about fighting the new way, which Raphael ends up hearing, and that pretty much gives Raphael the idea to come up with a plan which, honestly, Leo isn't too fond of. And because of this, they both decide to have a fight, which I assume to be with bamboo sticks, just to see how they should proceed. During their fight, Leo tells Raph about the dreams he's been having about the turtle, telling them to fight a new way. When he does eventually win the fight, he says it's time for them to grow and fight a new way again, and once again, it's never explained what the new way is. We then go on to see the Dragon Lord talking about how they only need 1 more ingredient for their serum of invincibility, that being dolphin skulls. And with that, they prepare to go to the aquarium to acquire some. Back at the lair, we see Donatello getting frustrated seeing as how he can't figure out what exactly this thing is. Venus ends up taking a look herself, using her magic, trying to decipher it, but unfortunately, she can't find good nor bad magic out of it, so even she is stumped. And right as they give up, they see that the dragons are heading to the aquarium. And with that, they all suit up into their obviously noisy ninja vehicles. And on the way there, we get this strange edit, not in terms of the visuals, but in terms of the music. Let me show you what I mean, and frankly, it honestly made me burst out laughing when I first saw this. When they get to the aquarium, they can't find the dragons anywhere, until they realize they've been standing right next to them. And after some banter, Donatello ends up figuring out what the serum is. But before we get an answer, we get a pretty comical reference to the movie Airplane.
Surely you jest.
Don't call me Shirley.
Donatello goes on to say that this stuff is actually a placebo, and if you're wondering what that is, it's basically if you tell someone that a piece of candy will give you strength and they believe it, they might get a small boost in strength, but nothing too, noticeable. And just like that one villain in the park, he only got stronger because he believed he was. A lame explanation, but at least we got one. And with this, we get a huge battle in the aquarium. Well, huge given by this show's standards. Raph and Leo go to fight the Dragon Lord, while the rest go off to fight the minions. And no, not those minions. They're able to take them all out, however, Raph and Leo don't fare too well. When they all come together, they are able to finish him off with a move that's kind of similar to how they defeated Tatsu in the second Ninja Turtles movie. And with that, the day is saved. I think. And since the Dragon Lord ran, all the turtles go and celebrate and end up looking back on this 5-part storyline. And it's here where Leonardo finally explains what the new way is.
And there is a new way. Our way. The way of the turtle.
So basically the same way you've been fighting since the beginning of the show. How anticlimactic. Alright, that was my look at the first 5 episodes of Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. And frankly, I had a good time. Like, unironically, I legit couldn't stop laughing at how goofy it was. Now I'm going to bring up something which I know a lot of you are curious about. What do I think of Venus? Frankly, I don't mind her. I know a lot of people hate her. Here's the thing. When this show was being made, Kevin Easton was the guy who owned Ninja Turtles at the time. But later on, he sold the rights to his co-creator, Peter Laird, who actually hated Venus so much that when he went on to make, Turtles Forever, there was a scene where it showed a bunch of the turtles throughout the multiverse. However, Next Mutation was left out, and I think it was because he hated the show that much. That's my best guess. And, strangely enough, if you look at early productions, or at least some early toy designs, which I unfortunately can't find pictures of at the moment, Venus was supposed to wear pink instead of the blue. And speaking of color changes, Leonardo was supposed to wear yellow in this show. There's actually a split second in the opening where you can see him still wearing yellow. And speaking of yellow and 5th Ninja Turtles, in the comics, they would try a 5th turtle again that was female, and they actually did have her wear yellow. And speaking of those comics, they also brought Venus back in those. And granted, I haven't read those comics, I've only seen plot descriptions. I think she seems interesting. And sadly enough, the show only had 1 season. And frankly, I think 1 was enough. If they did any more, it's hard to say whether or not it could have kept getting good or enjoyably bad or insufferable, but I think the one we got was enough. And if you want to watch this show on DVD, it has been released by Shout Factory in 2 volumes, which I'll show you right here. And if you don't want the 2 volumes, well, they did release the entire show on this complete DVD set, which is what I use for the video. And it does have, the show on 4 discs, as well as a bonus episode, well, technically 2. And that being a crossover this show had with another show owned by the same creators, that being Saban. Thank you for watching my video on Ninja Turtles: Next Mutation. Tune in next time where we look at the episode of Power Rangers in Space where they did a crossover. See ya!